Good afternoon, everyone. It is Thursday, April 2nd. I'm your friendly TikTok news reporter, JJ Hastings, and this is 5 stories you need to know for your day. Sorry that this one is coming out a little later than normal. I was neck deep in the Pam Bondi situation. I have a short video up on my page about that as well, so not going to address that here. So let's, beyond that, jump right in. So in our first story, in a primetime address last night, Wednesday night, Trump claimed that U.S. military objectives in Iran are nearing completion and that he intends to hit targets extremely hard for the next 2 to 3 weeks with no plans for a ground invasion. However, this address comes as the president hits the 60-day mark of the War Powers Act. Under this law, a president must get congressional authorization to continue military action. By claiming the mission is nearing completion, the administration may be attempting to bypass the need for a formal vote from a divided Congress. Now, Tehran officially dismissed the ceasefire rhetoric as baseless, and military analysts point out that hitting targets hard without a ground plan often leads to prolonged aerial conflicts rather than a quick exit. This on top of reporting over the last week that thousands of soldiers have been stationed or relocated to Iran over the past week or so. So, a developing story. Now, a follow-up story to that, just hours after Trump's nearing completion speech, Iran launched missile strikes on 2 central cities in Israel, including Tel Aviv. The administration's narrative of a deterred Iran is directly challenged by these strikes, which used cluster ammunitions and injured at least 16 people, including an 11-year-old girl who is in critical condition. However, follow-up reporting from Times of Israel directly stated that 11-year-old girl was not injured in the strike, but was actually ran over by people fleeing the scene of the strike itself. Despite White House claims that the Iranian Navy has been annihilated, the regime demonstrated it still maintains significant long-range ballistic capabilities and the will to use them against Israel and U.S. allies. In our third story, a happy one for once, NASA's Artemis 2 mission successfully launched at 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. This is the first crewed mission to the moon in over 50 years. It will take approximately 6 days for them to reach the point where they will actually be flying around the moon. I watched this whole thing live from start to finish. And actually cried. A historical moment. Now, the 4-person crew is currently in orbit. This will be a 10-day mission. While the Trump administration has touted this as a win for American first space policy, this mission is actually deeply multilateral, including a Canadian astronaut on board that 4-person crew and the use of extensive international hardware. This serves as a rare point of international cooperation during a time of high global and domestic friction. An additional story, Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick, a Republican from Pennsylvania, and Tom Suozzi, a Democrat from New York, whose last name I am likely mispronouncing, so I do apologize, introduced the Reforming ICE and Protecting America Act this morning to end the weeks-long partial DHS shutdown. While the president has blamed obstructionist Democrats for the shutdown, this bipartisan bill shows the delay is largely centered on ICE reform specifically. Now, this bill would fully fund the DHS, but adds probable cause requirements for detentions and sensitive location guardrails for places like schools and churches. Guardrails that existed priorly under former administrations. Now, this undermines the narrative that there is no path to funding that we've been seeing, rather highlighting a specific legislative disagreement over how much unchecked power immigration split agencies should have. And then in our final story, I did a video about this yesterday if you want a little bit more information, but following oral arguments in Trump versus Barbara yesterday, which was the Supreme Court case hearing oral arguments about birthright citizenship, the president posted that he feels birthright citizenship is quote-unquote stupid, and that the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution was never meant for the children of undocumented residents. During the 2-hour debate, even the conservative wing of the court appeared skeptical of the government's permanent domicile argument, which I dig into more in that other video I have on my page. So those are your 5 breaking stories for today, Thursday, April 2nd. What's news you're hearing that you're interested about? Do you have any questions about these stories? I would love to hear your comments and curiosities below. And as always, if this was helpful to you, please feel free to hit all the buttons. It really helps with kind of the current throttling of this kind of content. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.